Hey, we're going to be going over some genetic vocabulary today. These are some important terms that we really need to go over and understand before we can move on and do anything with the Punnett squares and to go further with our Clyde and Claire. The first word I want to teach to you today is the word allele. The word allele is talking about one gene or trait in a gene pair. We learned from the article we read yesterday when going over Gregory Mendel that everything comes in pairs. We have the dominant is represented with a capital letter, and we have a lowercase letter here that is representing the recessive gene. So this would be a combination gene pair. Okay, you have a mom trait and a dad trait. One of these, this one here, is considered one allele. This one here is considered one allele. And that's what you would consider as an allele, is one gene or trait in a gene pair. The next term we're going to learn about or refresh our memory from yesterday about is the word dominant. Dominant just simply means that it's the stronger trait that covers up the weaker recessive trait. It's represented with any capital letter. We're going to use T here as examples, but it could be any letter that you want to use. I tend to use a letter that the capital form and the lowercase form are not the same, so you can tell them apart easily. It can be expressed with either two capitals, because remember you're getting one from mom and one from dad, or you can be dominant if you have a dominant and a recessive, because remember the dominant is going to cover up this recessive. So that's two ways that you can write a dominant gene pair. The next word would be recessive. Of course, it is the one that's getting covered up if there's a dominant trait that's there. It's represented with any lowercase letter. But the only way you're going to ever have a recessive trait is if you have both of them that's going to be recessive. For instance, when we're talking about the Miller family with David having hemochromatosis, in order for him to have hemochromatosis, he had to be recessive. And in that case, he had to receive a recessive trait from mom and a recessive trait from dad in order to have hemochromatosis. The next thing we're going to be talking about is heterozygous. Heterozygous is talking about the gene pairs, but the prefix hetero means different. So if you have a heterozygous gene pair, that means that the alleles are different, meaning you have a dominant and a recessive. They're not going to be the same, they're going to be different. Now this is the same thing as in math. In this case, I always write the capital first, but if you have a capital and a lowercase, or if you have a lowercase and a capital, it's going to mean the same exact thing, because you have the dominant, and the dominant is going to overshadow or overpower the recessive, but that's heterozygous. Heterozygous gene pairs are always dominant because it has at least one dominant gene. The next word is the opposite of heterozygous, is homozygous. The prefix homo means same. So if you are homozygous, that means your gene pairs are the same. Examples would be two capitals, two lowercase, in just like we have T's or with A's. But you can be homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive. In this case here, you see that there's two homozygous dominants. Both of them are dominant. In this case, you have homozygous recessive. Another name for this you can hear sometime is pure, because you may be pure dominant or pure recessive. So sometimes you can hear that as well. If we go back to heterozygous, sometimes you'll hear scientists use the word hybrid. Just like if you have a hybrid car, which uses both electric and gas, they use both. That means that you can have a dominant and a recessive. So another name for heterozygous is hybrid, and another name for homozygous is pure. The last two words we're going to talk about is genotype. Genotype and phenotype. The word genotype simply means the type O gene. The genotype is the actual gene combination or organism has. You can have one of three genotypes. You can either be pure dominant or homozygous dominant. You can be heterozygous or hybrid, or homozygous recessive. You can have two recessives, a dominant recessive, or two dominants. This is just the gene combination. The next word means phenotype. Phenotype is the physical characteristic or trait that is expressed from the genotype that you have. Example would be your phenotype would be red hair. You may have blue eyes. You may have a widow's peak. All of the traits that we went over yesterday in class between dominant and recessive, those are your phenotypes. Phenotype, the PH sound, the physical PH, the phenotype is the physical trait that is expressed. These are the words that you need to make sure you have in your notebook. You can copy these down and have this. Hope this helps. Thanks.